Let's talk about feelings at work. Ew, 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 feelings at work. Let's talk about it because even just saying feelings at work, everybody's like, why? Why are we talking about feelings at work? We can't have feelings at work. And even I feel that way. We can't have feelings at work. It's all about business. It's not about feeling good. But here's the thing. We can't talk really about alignment until we talk about feelings. I always like to talk about misalignment within an individual as sort of a metaphor or analogous to misalignment in an organization. So the only way that we actually know we're not aligned in ourselves is from a feeling. And that could be misalignment in how we physically feel, how we emotionally feel. Our thoughts are making us feel a certain way, even though we don't feel that way in the first place. We're sort of getting triggered by our own thoughts. We're not aligned. Our nervous system isn't aligned with our values and isn't aligned with our beliefs, isn't aligned with, therefore what we want. And then we're going to feel off eventually, and something's going to not work in our personal lives, right? So it's the same thing with an organization, only you have a bunch of different people who all need to kind of gel together, need to fuse together. And that's what I'm professionally obsessed with, is how to get everybody fused together, working together. There's no purpose in fighting against one another, but there's a lot to argue about or compete about sometimes. Not really, in my opinion, but you have to start working together. So let's talk about feelings. When do you address feelings in the workplace? What's important about addressing feelings in the workplace? So if people are going through something at home and they are feeling sad, angry, frustrated, and then they're crossing over into the workplace, which we all do. It's very hard to separate ourselves from what we are going through in our personal lives. Even if we try, it's still kind of affecting us on a subconscious level. We cross over, we're like, I'm not going to think about what's going on at home at all. But then something happens at work that might be triggering, right? It might be upsetting. And then the next thing you know, now that person is upset. And that person might not know if they're upset about what's happening at home or what's happening at work. They're not able to separate it. So when that happens, we don't know what to do as leaders. We're like, this person's just upset. It seems like a personal problem. Sure, there might be personal problems that they're dealing with, but what you can support with is, what is it about what we're doing and how we're doing it that is making you feel a certain way or is making you react? And that's just really a learning process at first. Maybe it is an overreaction. Maybe it is a reaction to an inefficiency. Why do we want to learn from our people? Because everyone has a special role. So even if you don't think that the process is inefficient, since you're looking at the situation from a different vantage point and you're interacting with the workflow and the process from a different vantage point, then it's going to be hard to understand what that person is actually experiencing. So that's where you have to then say, okay, maybe this isn't their personal issues coming into the workplace. Maybe this is something about the actual work, and I need to learn from this person's perspective. And we hear about empathy, right? This is a great example of empathy, and in empathic listening and active listening, it's a approach to learning about somebody's experience from their position. So whether it be somebody, who's customer facing, I guess, on the front line, a middle manager, they're all going to have a different perspective. And so listening to that person and trying to understand their perspective, then listening to the next person and their perspective, and so on and so forth, now you're seeing a 360 view. And then that's the beginning of a really wonderful and creative conversation to resolving that. And once you're able to really facilitate that process, that problem-solving process with everyone, and putting all of the solutions in the same pot, then you're really fusing together. You're really becoming one body. So if you'd like to talk about this more, I am here for you. We can jump on a free call. You can have a coaching session. You can jump on with your team and we can talk through it. And I hope to hear from you soon.